1.5 half, and then top garnish. Cool.
You're the owner, right?
I am. I let the talented people do the talented things. Hello, I'm Kyle with Iowa Distilling Company, and I am here with the Poor People Podcast, having an amazing time. And today we're going to be showing you how to make two different cocktails. We're going to be doing our Dirty Shirley with our Iowa State 1858 vodka, and we're also going to be doing one of my favorite shots, which is the oatmeal cookie with our Prairie Fire Hot Cinnamon Whiskey. So let's start off with our Prairie Fire Hot Cinnamon Whiskey and the oatmeal cookie. We're going to take a shaker filled with ice, and we're going to add a ½ ounce of Prairie Fire Hot Cinnamon Whiskey. We're then going to complement that with a ½ ounce of half and half cream. And then we are going to do a ½ ounce of butterscotch. We're using syrup, but you can use butter shots, you can use butterscotch schnapps, whatever is best or in your bar. So that half, shake that up. And then we're gonna put that right into a nice shot glass. Now it's gonna have that nice kinky pink color to it. It is an amazing flavor profile that everybody's gonna love. Now we're gonna follow that up with the cocktail of choice. We're gonna do a Dirty Shirley, nice and easy, but everybody loves it. We're gonna be using our Iowa State 1858 vodka, and we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of Iowa State, a splash of grenadine, something that every bar has behind there, and then we're gonna top that off with Sprite. Simple, but oh so delicious. All right, now you have the best cocktail combination with our oatmeal cookie and our Dirty Shirley with our Iowa State 1858 vodka and our Prairie Fire Hot Cinnamon Whiskey. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for tuning into the Poor People Podcast, and make sure to subscribe to our other channels. Cheers. Oh, goodness sakes, I forgot the cherry on top. Boom. So this is what you guys do, huh?
This is what we do. This is it.
Cool.
We're rolling on everything? All right. Welcome to Poor People.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
We're here with Kyle. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And we're
So
here
broad.
at Iowa Distilling Company. We're super happy to be here.
It's our first distillery, yeah?
Yes. And it's our first time outside of the Des Moines area.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, you're not too far outside.
Not
of
too
town.
far.
You know, Cumming's only just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, welcome to Iowa Distilling Company. I'm Kyle Doyle, and I am the chief paper pusher around here. So I'm not the talented people behind the bar or behind the stills, but at the same time, we're one of Iowa's biggest native distilleries, producing 8 different labels here in a 114-year-old building that we're sitting in right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
About 7 years ago, the governor signed a law that allowed us to have a craft cocktail lounge. And so one of the cool things that we did was we actually separated the 114-year-old building right down the middle, and half of it's dedicated to production. The other half is dedicated to a craft cocktail lounge. So it's that experience, but we put big picture windows so you can actually see everything from fermentation to distillation to barreling to bottling to out the door, and you actually see what's going on the shelf over in all the retail locations and behind the bars that you guys all enjoy, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And work at, too.
Yeah.
They pay you.
Yeah. So I guess, what do you love most about Cumming?
God damn it, Jaden.
I'm sorry.
You gotta ease him into
I
it
had
at
to get it out of
least.
the way. I'm sorry.
This wasn't being recorded.
No.
There's so many things that could be
Okay,
said.
no,
right?
my real question is like, this place is so cool. It's a 100-year-old
About 114 years.
Wow.
Okay, 114-year-old building.
Yeah.
You guys have the distillery right in your lounge like area. How do you, like, being in Cumming, Iowa, how do you like get people out here? Like, I mean, like you said, it's not super far away, but to like people who don't know Cumming, Iowa, they're going to be like, oh, it's super far away. So like, what like tactics do you use to get people out here, I guess?
That was actually one of the biggest challenges that we had when we opened the cocktail lounge, was because people did think that they had to pack a lunch in order to come down here. So we did a lot of work on social media and also doing a lot of different things in town, in the Des Moines and the West Des Moines area to try to bring this out. But We also are very thankful that across the street from us is the Cumming Tap. And the Cumming Tap is a very big destination for bicyclists. And we have about 2,000 bicyclists that come down here every week because it's right on the trail. And so we had some natural overflow from that. And since people have known us and we've won some awards on the state level, and our spirits have won awards on the national level, we have a lot of people that are coming down and just trying to check out where their spirits are made. And it's kind of cool to be able to tell one person, and then that person tells 5 people, and that person tells 5 people, and all of a sudden we become one of the biggest native distilleries in the state. And we also have people like Jason Norton on social media, and he talks about us quite a bit. And
yeah, we love Justin. Just kidding. Jason drinks with Jason.
I was gonna say, did we mess up that?
He's gonna listen to this and be like, that motherfucker.
He knows.
And yeah, it's one of those things where we just needed to let people know that there is a lot more to do. And to be blunt, originally when we opened our doors on the lounge, people thought we were going to be fighting the same dollars for the Cumming Tap and us. In all reality, what we did was we offered another demographic to come down, because they're going over there for $4 beers and they're coming over here for $12, $13 cocktails. And we close at 9 o'clock. And so it's one of those things. We used to stay open till 2 o'clock in the morning. However, when we had our first bachelor party come in on a bus and wanted to take shots of 151 proof grain alcohol, we said that probably wasn't the demographic we were going after. And so it's one of those things where a lot of our clients actually will filter right over to the tap. And so it's a rising tide raises all ships. Since then, we've actually had more businesses come over. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but Wilson's Cidery is just down the street. So they opened their second location here in Cumming. And then we also have the Middlebrook Mercantile, which is just down the street as well. So even though we have 500 people here in Cumming, Iowa, we have 4 different places you can get a cocktail.
Yeah. And good cocktails too. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, man.
I wanted to talk to you about the soup of the day. I wanted to try this before.
Oh
it gets warm.
Sorry, I forgot about it.
No, you're totally fine. It's pink. It's my favorite color.
Soup de jour.
And you made it for us too.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites. It's just one of our standards. This is called an oatmeal cookie. So it's actually our Prairie Fire hot cinnamon whiskey.
Okay.
And we mix it with a little bit of butterscotch and a little bit of cream. So
Nice.
it is just a nice, easy one. I was going to have one of our best-selling shots is actually a pickled Prairie Fire.
Okay.
Ooh.
And it's Prairie Fire and pickle juice. And people on the trail love it because the pickle juice keeps you from cramping the sodium in there. And then the alcohol in the Prairie Fire keeps you from asking, why does my butt hurt for being out of bite for so long? But I thought I'd ease you into it with this oatmeal cookie. So
Nice. Yeah. Well,
Cheers.
cheers.
thanks for coming down to Cumming.
Thanks for letting us
Thank you.
come here.
Oh, I really like that.
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
that's really good.
That is
Wow.
really good.
I really like Prairie Fire a lot too. Just so, do you guys make that here then too?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So Prairie Fire is our flagship. That's what most people notice for.
No way. Okay. I love Prairie Fire. I take that over Fireball all day long.
Yeah, we don't know where we are, but
That's
our-
really cool. Okay.
Yeah, no, Prairie Fire it's been our flagship, and that's what a lot of people come down and notice that, hey, you guys make Prairie Fire? It's made in Iowa?
Yeah, I didn't realize that either.
yeah.
Yeah, and City View, we've actually been voted the best whiskey in Iowa for the last 6 years
Yeah,
with
I
our
saw
Prairie
that.
Fire.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get a picture of that and throw it in here when you talk about that. No, that's super cool. Yeah, because for me, anyways, Prairie Fire was always that. It was like, I love hot tamales, first of all, and I just always thought that it was, shipped in from somewhere else, and it was like one of those ones I'd never heard of. So then, how long have you guys been making Prairie Fire then?
We've been making that since we were open. So
Oh,
it's one
really?
of the first ones that we introduced, and a lot of people recognize it, but they didn't realize that it has roots here in Central Iowa.
Yeah,
So
that's super cool.
yeah.
Isn't that
really
neat
awesome.
how that normally works out when something specifically that was made here, people don't think it's made here because it's Iowa, right?
And because it's so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that too, but I mean, you have other liquors as well here. Do you care to explain a couple of the other ones that have also brought you out of?
For sure. And that's one of the reasons why I was really drawn into the distillery is because this is actually a tangible item that Iowans can be proud of and take over to their friends over in Illinois and take over to their friends over in Minnesota. It's one of those things where we can't really talk about corn or insurance that we're really good at either, but we can certainly take over a bourbon or a prairie fire.
Yeah.
And that also complements our apple pie, our Saints and Sinners apple pie
Yep.
that we make here. And it just is an amazing low proof alcohol, but it is a fantastic flavor profile, and it's become one of the fastest growing spirits in the state of Iowa. And then we also make our Country Gal Moonshine, which we were trying a little bit earlier. It has a finish like a tequila, but it doesn't have that front end gag reflex that some people know from tequila. We also do our aged spirits, and our Iowa Distilling Straight Bourbon has won silver medal in LA International Wine and Spirits Competition. It's won silver medal in Denver International Wine and Spirits Competition. It's done really well, and it's made with corn straight from Ankeny. Actually, our production manager is out getting corn right now so we can make our next run.
That's super cool.
So, but yeah, and we only release 200 bottles a month. And so that's really cool because if it's on the shelf or it's behind the bar, it means that you got it at the right time. And
Wait, 200 bottles total or just of that?
200 bottles of that a month.
okay.
Yep, of our Iowa Distilling Straight Bourbon. And the whole reason behind that is when I first took over, we didn't have any authority. We didn't have a reason for people to pick it up. And so that's when we started entering into some of these international competitions. And to get bottles out of the state of Iowa is a challenge, by the way.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah.
Yep. So when we were able to go and get that authority, then all of a sudden we could go to the retail locations and the bars and say, hey, we do have a good product. We are Iowa, and we know that the best bourbon comes from the best corn. I know that's a tagline from Cedar Ridge, and those guys are right. The best corn produces the best bourbon. Sorry, Kentucky. However,
Our producer loves that. He's back there shaking his head.
he's talking about limestone over there. Anyway, so it was one of those things that once we started getting notoriety, we went from selling 6 bottles a month to selling 6 bottles a week to selling 6 cases a week. And then we sold out of all of our back stock within about 3 months of getting the authority. And we had to limit the release. So we limited it originally to 100 bottles a month, sold 50 bottles here in the distillery, sold 50 bottles to the state of Iowa. In the state of Iowa warehouse, it actually lasted 7 minutes.
Wow.
And the fastest that we ever sold out here, we had lines around the building for 1 bottle. And it was one of those things where we sold out in 5 minutes. And that's because we had to run credit cards.
That's so cool.
And it was a Tuesday afternoon at 11 o'clock, and we had a full bar just because people wanted to have our bourbon. And
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
so that's kind of a fun little thing that Iowans can be proud of, and Iowans can sit there and share. Heck, we like Iowa so much, we put it in our business name, right?
Yeah.
And it's in our logo. If you didn't notice the Easter egg, the D actually is an I and a D.
Yeah.
So, you
I see it now, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to point it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like that a lot.
how long do you does it take to like make like 1 bottle? Like can you even guess that?
Well, yeah.
Is that a hard question?
It's not a hard question. It just depends on how many ferments and how the ferment does and everything like
Okay.
that. So when we're mashing, we're running a double distillation on our bourbon. So that means that we have to run through about 3 sets of ferments, and then we're going to have to run those in order to get enough distillation in order to run a second still run. And then we're going to be able to pull out our heads, hearts, and tails. And the heads are the stuff that you don't want in there. The hearts is going to be the flavor profile, and the tails are going to be the stuff at the end, kind of the oily substance. A lot of the times that'll give some unique flavor to it, and you want to make sure that yours is consistent each and every time. The cool thing about us is that we can produce a couple barrels a month, and depending on how hard we're running that or anything like that, each barrel is going to produce anywhere from about 300 to 350 bottles, depending on what proof it goes into the barrel at. And bourbon has to go in at under 125 proof. It has to be at least 51% corn. It has to be in a new American white oak barrel. There's a whole bunch of stipulations in there. So yes, we can produce that number, and we're producing more than what we're selling right now. But we get to wait and sit on it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Are you thinking about opening up another location though, with like, more production and stuff like that? I know this is a very quaint place, but will you expand? Will you expand here?
And I was gonna say also, they didn't see the warehouse that you brought us to in the back.
Okay. So there's more. There's
a
more to
lot
the story.
more.
Okay.
So yeah, in that thought process, I mean, we started off as a very small distillery, right? And then we've since grown, and we now are one of the biggest native distilleries in the state. And I always say native. A lot of people call it micro distillery. Iowa has now redefined it as native distillery so that we mirror the same language as wineries. Right?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So when I say native distillery, it just means one of the distilleries homed here in Iowa.
Okay.
And since then, we've moved from just this building to we've actually have half of the city block dedicated to making spirits for Iowans. And we put our money where our mouth is. And we actually sat there and built a 6,000 square foot rack house behind us.
Oh, okay.
We'll be more than happy to take to. And maybe you can film one of these next spring or summer when it's actually warm out and it's not too cold.
And we could do it back there. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
But we've been able to put more bourbon away than ever before. In answer to your question, we are limited on how many licenses we can have.
Okay.
And so when we sit there and talk about, hey, do we want to go to a second location or anything, we don't want to lose the identity here because this is kind of who we are, right?
Yeah,
we're
correct.
small town Iowans, and we're representing small town Iowa, and something we can be proud of. But if we want to, there's those different locations like the Iowa Cities or the Cedar Rapids or the Council Bluffs where you're not impacting central Iowa as much anymore, because central Iowa is this bar can only impact, and we talk about it all the time in our management meetings, it can only impact about 6 counties. We're a distillery that operates in 99 counties. So we want to make sure that every Iowan can be a backyard bartender and have that positive experience every time they open one of our bottles. So customer experience is one of our core values. And that doesn't matter if it's here or if it's in Cedar Rapids or if it's at an Iowa football game. It's one of those things where we want them to have a positive customer experience. So everything that our bartenders and our mixologists and our award-winning mixologists, might I add, put on there, we put on our website. So we have over 152 cocktail recipes on our website with our spirits. And it's one of those things where we want to make a backyard bartender with all the ingredients you can get at a grocery store or the ingredients that you have to go to special bar stores for. We want to make sure that we make it for everybody. And sometimes it's as simple as 2 ingredients, Saints and Sinners and cream soda. For goodness sakes, it makes an apple pie a la mode that everybody loves.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
That sounds really good.
Oh, don't worry. I'll get you one.
Awesome. So then, okay, how many people do you, if you can discuss, like how many people do you actually have working here? Like include like everybody?
Yeah. So we have about 7 full-time employees, and then we have about 4 part-time employees, and then we have people around the state that actually are representing us sometimes in the market. So,
like salesmen that like go around.
Yep. So we have a distributor that actually represents us all across the state, and then we also have some samplers around that will sit there and be able to put, as the old adage in the industry is, liquor to lips, be able to test it out in grocery stores and places like that. Now, if you talk to any one of us that are here, part of the culture that we've built is we actually don't call it liquor. We also don't call it hard alcohol. We call it spirits. The reasoning for that and the thought process is we have a lot of people that walk into our doors, and there's over 100 breweries in the state of Iowa, and there's just about 20 or maybe even less, depending on the day, distilleries. So people know craft brew, and they walk into our doors and they say, "What kind of beer do you make?" And I always say vodka flavored beer. And then they look and they see barrels and they're like, "Oh, what kind of wine do you guys make?" And I say whiskey flavored wine. And then we say, "No, we make spirits." And then they go, "Oh, I don't drink hard liquor. I had a bad experience with it once." And we go, "Hold on, stop. Let's talk about this, and let's talk about flavor profiles." And you guys in the bar industry know the difference between somebody that's looking to get a buzz and somebody that's looking to have a cocktail. And so a lot of the times we have to sit there and, I don't want to say educate, but we have to talk them through it going, what do you like? Do you like savory? Do you like sweet? Do you like citrus? Do you like XYZ? And then we'll kind of sit there and guide them. And our cocktail menu is divided up between our spirits, which is a little bit different as well. But we go, okay, if you like that kind of savory aspect and you're looking for that caramel and those vanilla notes, let's lead you down that bourbon or maybe that aged rum aspect. And if you want that sweet and you're looking for the effects of alcohol but not the taste, let's lead you to the vodkas, because our vodkas are very smooth and they're going to taste more like whatever you're mixing it with. And so a lot of the times we'll sit there and make somebody that, or not make, but educate somebody that has vowed never to have hard alcohol again back into the fold, where they're like, hey, this is something that I can enjoy. This is something that I can sip on, and I don't necessarily have to pound it or take cinnamon whiskey in 1.5 ounce shots that everybody thinks you have to. You can actually make it into a cinnamon mule with a little bit of pineapple juice and ginger beer. It is amazing that you can sit on a porch.
Yeah. I want another one. You can't be drinking all day.
You have a hockey game tonight.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Let me just go downtown and be stagger drunk at a hockey. Actually, you know what? That'll be
That's gonna make it way more fun.
What do you mean? That's what you're supposed to do.
yeah, at one of the other like arenas, not at the one that I'm going to. I can probably won't even make it past the door. Like, no. Okay. Like,
You've been
right.
at Iowa Distilling, haven't you? So when you guys make your like cocktails and stuff like that, do you guys make them before you give them to the bartenders? Do you let the bartenders do them? How do you guys do that?
So, I mean, you guys are the experts. You guys as bartenders know the spirits inside and out. And our bartenders, a lot of the times they have favorites. And so it's one of those things where if we're looking for a specific spirit to feature or something like that, we'll sit there and go to Michaela, who loves Country Gal Moonshine, and she'll sit there and come up with some of the craziest flavor profiles. Keely is amazing with bourbon, and she's coming up with some crazy cocktails. One of my favorites, I know you're not a bourbon, but I always call this my gateway bourbon drink because it's the one that eases people into an education
Let me
about
lead
bourbon.
you to the way of bourbon.
So it's bourbon with a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette, some fresh basil, some strawberry, and club soda. And so all of a sudden you're taking out the harshness of the burn of the alcohol, but you're complementing a lot of those flavors while adding that sweetness of the strawberry. And so we call that one the Dawn. And the thing I think our mixologists, our bartenders hate the most is that if you make the drink, you have to name it. And so it's one of those where we have some very interesting conversations, especially with the name of the town. So, I mean, you see on our holiday menu, we have Santa's Coming.
Yeah, he is.
Eggnog and Prairie Fire.
Brilliant.
We also have Lucky's Coming during St. Patrick's Day and things like
Nice,
that.
yeah.
However, you can also tell who the bartender that named it. And some of these cocktails live longer than when the bartender goes off and does whatever. So we had a bartender that was actually, I believe, watching The Sopranos, and she created a whole bunch of cocktails: the Smoking Gun, the Revolver, the Enforcer, and it all had these themes. I'm like, which episode did you watch last night, for God's sakes? So it's kind of fun. So the Dawn is one of those soprano cocktails that was created. She's looking over the menu.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a lot going on here, and I'm a vodka drinker, and you guys make a very good vodka. I believe that where I work, we have Zone, and I also have Swell too, and you also create Swell here, right?
Yep, we manufacture Swell. Swell is a white label product that we do for a client who's been very good to us.
Good.
And our Zone is our award-winning ozone purified vodka. And then we also do a third vodka that we just started a little over a year ago, and that's the Iowa State 1858 vodka. And that was a really cool aspect because once Iowa State was allowed to do spirits, Iowa State actually came to us and they said, hey, we really like what you guys are doing. We want to support local. How can we do something together? And we were the first people in the country, the first distillery in the country to ever figure out how to make the school and the collective, so the NIL program, to actually work together on the same project. So every cocktail that's sold with our Iowa State 1858 vodka, or every bottle, each one of those actually has profits going back to the athletes and the athletic department.
That's awesome.
So
Nice.
we're trying to keep money in Ames rather than sending it off somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you can sit there and think of how much money goes into those programs, even if we could bring $10 million into Iowa and Iowa State, think of how that changes our athletic programs and how that changes the athletes that we bring in.
Right.
So it's one of those things saying, hey, Iowans are using their hard-earned dollars. Why the heck are we sending it out outside the state of Iowa?
Right.
And I sit there, people talk about competition. They talk about, okay, the other distilleries in Iowa. And I sit there and say, hey, until the other distilleries in Iowa and all of us collectively have more than 12% of the market, we're even less than 10% of the market. Until we have 12% or over, those guys aren't my competition. It's a rising tide raises all ships. Let's make some awareness.
Right.
And let's support the people that are, the people that work here, their salaries are going to kids' dance shoes, and they're going to support the local communities and everything like that. And I always laugh. You guys went to the Rack House before us. That's not like a CD. When it's not like something that I can put into the bank and expect that we're going to get something bigger in 2 years. That's kind of a hope, and that is my kids' college tuition in those barrels back there. And so we want to make sure that we're honoring that, and we're being cautious of everything that's going on in the market.
Yeah,
So-
that's amazing.
A lot different than the bartending conversation you guys are probably normally
Oh
having.
yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Well, and
But
I
we-
feel.
sorry.
Sorry, no, you go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like most people when they start a distillery, like their first thought is like go global or go national, you know. And so it's like it's just cool that you guys keep it here, you know, and like help the communities here instead of focusing on getting to the next state, the next farthest state, you know.
Well, that actually was one of our marketing strategies, because when a while ago, we actually have licenses in 9 other states. We wanted to take over the world. But when we realized that Iowa's our home, and Iowa's where you need to win your backyard first, we pulled out of every other state. We said we weren't going to spend another marketing dollar in another state until we had product in all 99 counties. Little did I realize what that meant at that point in time. Van Buren County has 2 liquor license holders, and I think they're at Casey's and at Come and Go.
Oh man.
So it was one of those things where we actually succeeded in that goal a couple of years ago, but we realized there's still critical mass that we don't have people that know of us, or they know what products we make. And so it's one of those things where we continue to focus here, and we also think that it's important to give back. So one of my favorite stories, and I'll let you guys ask more questions, but is our Bourbon Club. And our Bourbon Club is a program where people join, and we started off with about 100 members, and they were the people that actually invested into us before we actually had bourbon. So they were the ones that said, hey, we want part of the first batch. And
That's cool.
they invested into us, and then we kind of died off after we gave the bourbon away, and then we reignited it, and we started a Bourbon Club meetup once a quarter, and now we have over 600 members.
Wow.
And the fun thing is we closed down the lounge for a private event, and we do different themes. We actually have a Please Don't Tell menu that's specific to the Bourbon Club. But
That's super cool.
in November, all of our distillers' grains, so all the stuff that we actually make our bourbon with, we give to a farmer down the street, and it's called Silver K Farms, and they raise their cattle on our distillers' grains. And in November, we buy one of those cows,
Okay.
and then we actually do hot beef Sundays for our whole Bourbon Club with the cow
so
that's been
cool.
fed our distillers' grains all year, and then the other 600 pounds of that cow we actually give to food insecurity around central Iowa during
Yeah.
the holiday season.
That's awesome.
So
that's so cool.
Part of giving back, and that's just part of being a good business.
Yeah, and
I'll-
getting cows drunk too. Like that's the best part.
I love this podcast.
That's what they do, right? No.
Is alcoholic beef?
Oh goodness.
I just got this in. Iowa's number 46 in the nation in bourbon consumption, apparently.
Yeah, they have a bourbon festival. Are you guys a part of that?
We are not quite yet. So
Okay.
it's one of those things where there's a lot of different festivals that you can be a part of, and sometimes we have to pick and choose, because if we only have 7 full-time people, you can only be in so many spots at once.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Sorry.
Sorry. We gave
No,
you
go
that.
go for it.
Yeah.
I've been asking a lot of questions.
Are you mostly behind the scenes, or do you jump back here and bartend too?
once in a while, you'll see me behind the bar. That's normally a dangerous feat.
Yeah.
If you didn't notice, I have to go through our recipe book quite frequently.
Me too.
But I'd rather have it done slow and right than inappropriate, right? And so it's one of those things where I actually try to stay out of the people's way.
Yeah.
And it's we have some really talented people, and that's the way that we grow our brand, is the people here. And so our front of house team and our production team and everything like that are some of the best in the country. I would put them up against anybody in the country, because I think that they're knowledgeable as well as they're tactical in the way that they go about things. And it's really cool to watch their minds work, and it's totally different than me. All I do is try to make sure the runway is clear and that they have all the tools that they need. And sometimes, I mean, heck, we're a 12-year-old distillery, right? We don't have 15-year-old bourbon. We don't have all the answers, and we've not run into all the problems. We do have friends over in Kentucky. We do have friends down south. So if we do have problems, we can call them. But a lot of the times we're figuring it out ourselves. And those have some of the most creative solutions on how to get things done. And that's the most important thing. 90% of business is showing up, right? And then the other, you just need to be able to figure out how we're going to make this work. And then the next time it comes around, we're going to make it better. We're going to learn from everything. And so I think our team here is the best. And the thing that I can do the best is stay out of their way. So
Yeah, but you have a really good input. Like I told you I didn't like bourbon. You're like, oh, I got just the thing for you. So you're doing kind of like what your mixologists are doing. But you make the liquor too, so you know what it's...
the spirits, right?
Sorry, the spirits. You know the taste profile of what I like. So that's kind of like what they're doing though too.
Yeah, you know,
You gotta give yourself some sort of credit.
I learn from them.
Yeah, that's fair. 12 years. That's a really big accomplishment. How do you feel?
I feel good, but I think there's so much runway and so much potential still. And I think a lot of that is just getting the message out. So doing fun things like this is amazing. And getting more people behind the bar is one of the most fascinating aspects, because there are so many different personalities that work behind bars. And you have some of those fun personalities that sit there and take 12 minutes to get a beer, but they are the most fun people to talk to. And then you have some of those speed bartenders that'll sit there and pound out 30 drinks in 2 minutes. And it's like, okay. And they're totally different thought processes. And a lot of the times when I go into a bar or a restaurant or anything like that, you have to find out what the vibe of the place is first, because sometimes you're going to go with those really cool craft cocktails that are unique, and they have those elements that you're like, oh geez, they made their own vanilla simple syrup and they're sitting there infusing their ice cubes with juniper, and you're like, okay, that's cool. But at the same time, you then have the other places that are hosting the people that are coming in for the NCAA tournament, and they want to just kind of hammer out those cocktails. And then you have the places that do both, and you have a Saturday night down on Court Avenue is a lot different than a Tuesday basketball game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe different clientele.
Well, I mean, because I don't know, like, are we saying that us three are speed bartenders, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to, okay.
Yeah.
I would love to learn how to do cocktails, but I can make a cocktail, but I just can't make it how like you guys would make it. I just slap it all together. I put it in a shaker. Even if it didn't even say to put it in a shaker, I just put it all in a shaker and like pour it in a glass. So like that's like a sloppy way, because I'm a speed bartender, you know?
You just told me to give myself credit. I'm going to tell you to give yourself credit. Because I bet you know how to make an awesome craft cocktail.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If it was like a martini, I make some really good martinis, and that takes literally next to nothing. But like with you guys have all these amazing spirits that like I wouldn't really have we have a couple at my bar that you have here, but it takes patience, and I am a very rapid worker. You said how it takes someone 12 minutes to pour a beer. It takes me 2 seconds. Like,
you know, the fun part about it is even talking with our front of house team, being able to speed bartend in classic cocktails is something of an art. And when we're training new people, a lot of the times we're sitting there going, okay, look at your tickets. If you have 4 tickets that actually contain the same drink, you can make the 4 cocktails in that one shaker, and you can hammer out a quarter of those aspects. So we're in a space, and we have 48 seats in here. So it's not something that is completely overwhelming. But when you have a full bar and you have a musician sitting there rocking and rolling, and we have live music every Friday night, one-man bands that come in here and just kind of rock out. And it is a blast. But sometimes you're in that speed aspect. And our mixologists have figured out how to make that really quality cocktail in a speed aspect, and they can sit there and rock it out. And a lot of the times I'm not trying to discredit anything, but sometimes the speed bartenders are going after that dollar tip for every drink. You're sitting there saying, hey, this is how I'm going to get my rent money, is because I'm going to get the most drinks out. And what you don't realize is if you're selling a $10 cocktail, well, the tip on that $10 cocktail is much better. So you spend 5 minutes on that cocktail, all of a sudden you're net positive.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those where it's really cool to watch that mixture of speed and creativity and art. And it is an art. And even if you guys call yourselves speed bartenders, it's an art.
Yeah.
Especially dealing with people.
Oh yeah.
And we have a lot of our bartenders are teachers.
Oh.
And we always laugh because they go from teaching kids to coming in here and making adults act like kids.
Teaching kids to babysitting adults.
Yeah. That's one way to put it.
Well, and the other thing too, that you kind of mentioned this before, but where like other craft bartenders and stuff like that, like they'll like put lavender in the ice or something like that. But a lot of the times they're not usually making their own alcohols. So it's like, if you think about it, I mean, they could kind of do that anywhere. You know what I mean? Like they could make the whatever the mixers are for all of that. They could make the lavender cocktails or whatever it is anywhere. But where you guys are like making your own alcohol, or sorry, your own spirits, and then you're also mixing the cocktails too and like creating those. Like I feel like that has its own like intuitiveness to it. That's like just more like just straight up more complicated. Like you just have more to work with, but also at the same time like. That doesn't necessarily make it easier.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's more complicated, but we have the ability to sit there and say, hey, the reason why this was developed. So we took Prairie Fire, right? And we actually designed that so that it gets you on the side of the tongue and the back of the tongue, and it doesn't follow you down your esophagus. We designed these flavor profiles, and we're able to pull these flavor profiles out of our steel drum rum is an aged rum, aged just like a whiskey. And so you're getting a lot of those whiskey characteristics with that molasses sweetness at the front end. It is an amazing thing. So when we're coming up with different cocktails, we're like, okay, this is what we're trying to pull out of there. And yes and no, it's one of those where the challenge might be that we're only using our spirits, or we're only using spirits that we're having guests come in. So a couple of our friends are down in Osceola and Revelton, and we have Revelton's mulberry gin here. We don't make a gin, and it complements what we do. And we also have their bourbon cream. By the way, that in Prairie Fire makes an amazing shot.
Super good.
But it's one of those things where we can actually sit there and go, okay, well, how is this made? The reason why it's made that way, let's figure out what actually is going to pull that out. And so a lot of the times when I'm talking about our rum specifically, our steel drum rum, aged like a whiskey, it's one of the hardest things to sell because it's a dark rum, and everybody in Iowa thinks a dark rum should be spiced, right? And so when somebody comes in here and they don't know what they want because they're normally drinking Busch Light, which is not a bad thing, but they come in here because they want to see an artist and they go, okay, I'll take a rum and Coke. And then they'll sit there and take our rum and a Coke, and it tastes different. And if it's not the same McDonald's cheeseburger, then it's bad, right?
Right.
And so we have to sit there and educate them and say, hey, instead of covering it with cola and taking that alcohol burnout because of the ingredients of cola, which cola does an amazing job of covering up some of those flavor profiles. That's why it's used so frequently. But if you complement those with citrus, so I actually use pineapple juice when I'm sampling it out. And so our steel drum rum is actually going, the barrel flavors are going to be complemented by citrus, and then it's going to start tasting like your rum runners and your rum punches and things like that. And that's one of those things that you get because we only work with one rum. And so it's not like we're sitting there having to create a cocktail for the 7 other rums that are on the shelf. But it's one of those going, hey, we want this one to, we know how it's made. We know why it has those flavor profiles, and let's figure out how we can pull those cool notes out of it. And I keep telling you about new cocktails, but the one that's going on right now is actually one of my favorites in our seasonal menu is a toasted snowman, which is our steel drum rum with a little bit of Irish cream, some toasted marshmallow, and chocolate milk all together.
That sounds so good.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's trying to get me drunk today.
We actually mixed that one. So our front of house manager, our front of house team actually created events, and we also tried to do something that's unique. I know brunch has always been a popular topic, so we actually did a boozy brunch, and we mixed that toasted snowman and Cocoa Krispies.
Oh my god!
And I love chocolate. You
guys are like Bill Nye the Science alcoholic,
chemistry,
science spirit.
We also did our carameled appletini with Apple Jacks, and then we did our cake batter shot with Fruit Loops, and then the the oatmeal cookie that you guys took just a few minutes ago, mix that with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So just imagine that in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You're going to drink all the milk.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow. That's intense.
That's super intense.
Like when people really come here, they're coming here to get really good cocktails, and they're gonna have another one, and they're gonna have.
Yeah.
You guys know exactly what you're doing,
Oh, yeah.
especially with flavor profiles. Like I wouldn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that you can come in here and like kind of like experiment with your palate. Like you said, some people like are so against these liquors, and you're like, well, try our spirit.
Spirits.
I'm going to convert you yet.
He cringes every time we say those words.
It's all right. It's all
Sorry,
right.
we're trying to, we got to learn.
No, I know.
No worries.
But like we as food bartenders don't always have the patience to be like, they're like, I don't like whiskey. What can I have that's like whatever? I'm like, I don't know. Here, have Jameson, have a shot of Rumpelmans. That's all I can offer you.
And I think the difference with our places of work, I'm connected to a place that is a craft cocktail place, and then they come over to where I work, and they ask me for like a cocktail, like how they would possibly get over at the place that I work next to, and I just look at them and go, I will do my best.
Yeah.
I will do my best, but I cannot live up to one of my good friends' cocktails over there. I'm
Right.
so sorry, but I will try my best. And 9 times out of 10, they understand that because, again, we do make cocktails where I work, but they're not as crafted
Right.
and batched like how the restaurant next to me is. It's just
Right.
not how it's going to work out.
Well, and I was going to say too, even when I've mixed cocktails or like made a cocktail for a menu or anything like that, it's just like, I'm not like trying different things. It's more like, we need to sell this and get rid of it. What can it go with?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I'll just be like, well, apple cinnamon is like a flavor. And I was like, okay, we'll just put those two together, you know? And it's like, that's a shot or something.
Yeah.
So it's like where you guys actually get the opportunity to be like, oh, okay, we developed this for this reason. You can mix it with this or whatever. Like it's, you know, you have your inputs already there kind of. And then at that point, the world's your oyster, you know, you
and then
can,
they keep coming back.
yeah.
The fun part is a lot of the times you can go to bars or restaurants and the bartender will have their own shot. They'll have something that's unique to them. It's not even on the menu. So we were down at Kathy's 14th Street Pub and they had a fire pie and it was just Prairie Fire and Saints and Sinners. So it was our apple pie and Prairie Fire put together. Wasn't on a menu or anything like that, but they ended up selling it like hotcakes because everybody... It actually tastes like hot tamales.
Best candy in the world.
So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, how can we incorporate that? And I mean, that's something that we do here frequently, but we're learning from everybody that comes in here. And that Sinner's Cream with the apple pie and cream soda, that actually was a client that was sitting at the bar and they go, hey, I want to mix these two together. And we're like, really? How are you going to mix cream soda and apple pie together, and the natural vanilla in the cream soda will actually taste like that vanilla ice cream on top. And so so we learn a lot from people, and we used to have a lot, and we still do have a lot of people that'll sit there and email their recipes in, and then that's how we get some really crazy
That's
concoctions
awesome.
together.
You have a very loyal fan base, it seems like.
We do, and though that loyal fan base also brings in new blood every day, and that's what makes it fun.
Okay, so that's a perfect segue into my next question. So what out of Iowa? So you guys said you pulled your liquor license from all the other states outside of Iowa?
No, we actually kept them. We just
Okay.
we took all of our distributors and everything like that. And we said we're not going to spend another marketing dollar in another state. So
Okay.
we're not sending bottles.
So then at that point, what other states are you guys distributing to?
Iowa.
Just Iowa.
Just
Okay,
Iowa.
so if I buy like 6 bottles of Prairie Fire here today and then drive it across the state, am I bootlegging at that point?
We need to check the statute. I can't remember exactly what the gallonage is for bootlegging. You can do a bottle.
Okay, I'll do 1 bottle then. Just kidding. I just snorted. I'm just kidding. No, but I was just curious because it would be that, like, I know for a fact I can think of like friends in other states that would love Prairie Fire, and like the fact, like, now knowing that it's only made in Iowa, it's like now I want to bring it to all of them and be like, you have to try this.
You'd be amazed at how many bottles of Prairie Fire you'd find down in Chiefs Kingdom down in Kansas City, because it's that fire red.
Yeah.
And sometimes it even makes its way over to Lincoln, Nebraska because of that color.
Well, and I work at a Chiefs bar, and it's like almost over Fireball, they'll order Prairie Fire. Yeah.
And that's one of the unique things about it. If you see somebody with a pink cocktail across the way, you know that there's a very good chance that it actually has Prairie Fire in it. And I always used how important is a name? I always use this as an example of how I'm not the best at things. Because when we were first coming out with cocktails, we had a cocktail called the Prairie Breeze, and it is Prairie Fire with a little bit of agave and lemonade. It's a really easy cinnamon lemonade, right? I called it the Prairie Breeze because I thought it was kind of cool. It's this nice little pink cocktail. Didn't sell worth a dang. Then it was also during the Game of Thrones time. And so my general manager came up to me and he said, "Hey, Kyle, can we rename this the Dragon Tamer?" We did, and it became one of the best-selling cocktails for the
No
next 3
way.
weeks.
Yeah.
And when we asked people about that, because information is key, right? No self-respecting dude was walking around with a pink drink called the Prairie Breeze.
Yep.
But once it was the Dragon Tamer, they could hold on to it,
Yeah.
and they could get behind the Dragon Tamer. I'm
That's
going, "Really?"
hilarious. How often do you see that, do you think, where it's like the name is what will end up selling the drink after the fact?
Well, you guys were commenting on one of the names already, and I had a smile, and I'll give you guys a little insight. We have a cocktail named the Grinch that's on there.
Yeah.
It's a key lime spritzer with vodka. During the summer, it's called the key lime spritzer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when it's named the Grinch,
Yeah.
it sells a heck of a lot better.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that was the first one we noticed.
The Grinch will not sell well in June.
No.
But key lime spritzer is one of those things where people think of sun and palm beaches, palm trees and things like that. And so it's one of those where you have to sometimes change with the times. And so names are important, but at the same time, the flavor profile is the most key ingredient. So
Absolutely.
that customer experience, and that I keep saying that, but that's actually one of our core values. And it's the core value that we always refer back to, saying, hey, are we proud of this? Is this something that my mom would be proud of? Is this something that we can sit there and put our name on? Because, heck, every bottle of bourbon that goes out there actually has my name on the back, and it has our name, and everybody here is part of that Iowa Distilling family. So we want that pride every time somebody opens that bottle
Yeah. That's awesome.
or pours that cocktail, right? Bartenders?
Correct.
When somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I want a shot," you're going to say, "Hey, I have this stuff made in Cumming, Iowa."
Yes.
They'll be like, "Do you want a Prairie Fire?" I'm like, "You know Kyle?"
Funny how that happens, right?
They're like, "Yeah, I know Kyle." So how did you get started in all of this? Like, what did you bartend before you like bought a distillery, or?
It seemed like fun.
Hell yeah, that's the best answer.
I like spirits. I like marketing. It seemed like fun.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job at it. So
No, it was one of those things where I wanted to build something in Iowa that Iowans can be proud of. And I truly do believe that there was a lack of opportunity for Iowans to showcase their Iowa pride. And I think that Iowa is has some of the best people and some of the hardest work ethic, but sometimes we get looked over. And so it's one of
we
those.
should all give a middle finger to our producer back there right now.
Wait a minute. He chose to be here.
He did.
Chose
He
to be
did.
here.
He just talks shit about Iowa a lot.
A captive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's captive for sure. He definitely thinks so.
So it's one of those things where I truly want something that people can tangibly hold and tangibly be proud of. And I know it sounds silly and corny and everything like that, but it's one of the reasons why we keep our prices the way we want them, so that, I mean, when we release only so much bourbon, we could raise our prices, and some stores do. We don't have control over that, but we've always kept it so that Iowans can afford it. And it's one of those things where maybe maybe if we raised it, it'd sit there in that supply and demand, people would sit there and want it more. It'd turn into that, hey, I have a $1,500 bottle of whiskey. But at the same time, that's not something that you're going to see down on Court Avenue. You might see it behind the bar once in a while, but not a whole heck of a lot of people are taking $200 shots.
No, more along the lines of like $42 shots.
$42
Yeah, for
shots.
them.
Okay.
They don't order that from me.
So it's one of those things that we do think of that every time that we go through any of that thought process. And yeah, it seemed fun. It was in an industry that I knew fairly well, and it was in an industry I knew a lot of the legislation, that process with my prior life. And it was one of those things where Iowa needed to change some of the laws that were around spirits. And I know that Iowa gets a lot of guff because of the way that we have our spirits laws and the 3-tier system and everything like that. I mean, for goodness sakes, you guys are looking over at our production area over there. We have an inventory for our production, but once we make it into a bottle, we actually have to take it through our bonded space to our bonded truck, and then it goes over to Ankeny to the ABD warehouse. And that's where every drop of hard alcohol, every drop of spirit goes through the state warehouse in Ankeny. So in order to get it back on this side, we actually have to go back up the next day and buy it at a 50% markup from the state and then bring it back here and sell it on our shelves. But if we want it behind our bar, it actually has to go up to the state, then it has to go to a wholesaler, and then we have to buy that from a wholesaler because we can't buy it off of our own shelves. So we have an inventory over on that side for untaxed. We have an inventory for our tax stuff on the retail shelf. And then we have an inventory for our bar, and then samples is a whole nother tax bracket. So we actually have, and so when you ask what I do, I make sure that those speed bumps don't hinder any of our other people, so that we can sit there and make sure that we have the right stuff at the right time. So there is a very good possibility that we have bourbon behind the bar, but we can't sell that because we can't sell that retail because we don't have any left on the shelf, or vice versa. When we run out of something behind the bar, we can't pull it off of our shelf. We have to go to a wholesaler in order to abide by the 3-tier system.
Wow.
Which is, that being said, that's one of those challenges, but it's not over. It's one of those things that you can overcome as long as you plan for it. And the other aspect is, Iowa, because of that ABD warehouse in Ankeny, they are required to be able to deliver to every liquor license holder in the state of Iowa. So any person that can sell retail alcohol, they have to be able to deliver. I don't have to figure out how to get a truck over to Coon Rapids. I don't have to figure out how to get to Denison because they ordered 2 bottles of our spirit. That's one of the things that the difference between spirits and beer and wine. Beer, a lot of those guys that are self-distributing have to figure out how to get from the brewery to those small town locations. And sometimes the small town locations get looked over because they don't have the presence. They need a 6-pack once every 2 weeks, and that's not worth the gas money to go down. And that's also why some of those local breweries are awesome, because those local breweries are supporting those local bars and those local constituents. They might not be in all 99 counties, but they can be supported, and they can make a living, and they can keep their people employed because of the support they get from the community. And we think our community is Iowa, and we think that our community is Iowa pride, and the people in Cedar Rapids have the opportunity to have Prairie Fire just as much as the people in Des Moines.
Yeah. That's so cool. I mean, just the way you got you're obviously very well like thought out, this whole process of like, where it seems like a lot of the people that we've talked to anyways are just like, yep, it's just this, this, and this. And you're like, oh no, we like go through all of the steps of that one step. Like, and yeah, it's just super cool. I'm super impressed. Sorry, I just had to say
And you're
that.
clearly very passionate, which is always like great to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
You make it seem easy.
Yeah,
But
you do.
It's very like go with the flow, and that's nice, because that kind of would make me feel overwhelmed, because if I needed a bottle, it's like, oh, I have to actually have just my separate inventory for my front of the house, my back of the house, and then I have to go take it over there. But I mean, laws are in place for a reason. But I mean, you guys, you know the steps, and you were taught all the steps, so that's why it's like, I mean, it is what it is, and it works out for us in the end. So as long as, you know, other places get the bottles and you don't have to worry about it, like how you said, not having a truck, not having to worry about going different places all around the 99 counties, that's really nice because you have a wholesaler and they will figure that out for you. So there's a little bit of like pros and cons, but there's always pros in the end.
Yep, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And the main thing is we want to make it easy to do business with us. And so you guys as bartenders and front of house and restaurateurs and everything that's listening to this podcast, you're the face. And it's one of those things that if we can make it easy to do business with us, easy to make cocktails, make it easy to come up with those cocktail recipes like a spiked blackberry lemonade, which is much easier than it sounds, and you can make it in any bar. And it is a great craft cocktail. But at the same time, when one of your patrons comes in and asks for that, they're going to remember that experience, right? And so that experience is what's going to make them like Zone Vodka, or that experience is what's going to get them to order a old fashioned with our Iowa Distilling straight bourbon. And so we need to make it easy for you guys to do business. We don't want to sit there and say, hey, here are all the challenges for me to get this bottle right to you. We want to sit there and say, hey, this is easy. This can slip into your menu fairly easy, and it's not going to be the cheap stuff, but it's also not going to be that hard sell stuff. It's going to be the stuff that people can be proud of, people are going to enjoy, and this is going to be the flavor profile that it's on. And so if we can make it easy to do business and make it easy for you guys to talk about it, and you are spot on when somebody comes up to a bar and they go, hey, I don't like XYZ, what's another option? How can I make it easy for me to educate you on, hey, here's another option. If somebody's looking for that, and then you can get better service.
Right.
And that way it's going to come back to you as maybe not $1 tip, it's a $2 tip because you just introduced them to something new.
Yeah.
Super cool. There was a question I had. Okay, so sorry, I just kind of like, my brain is just like all the time. When being the owner, being like the facilitator for like the distribution and all of that, like how often do you get burned out like doing all of this? Like, because you're so, like I said, like it's so impressive just to hear you talk about this, like all the different aspects of it that you can just nail down. Like, do you sleep? Like,
yes, I sleep.
Good. Next question. No, I'm just kidding.
If you're having fun, it's not a job, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So no, it's a blast. And then when I get to sit there, I have 2 daughters at home, and so they keep me on my toes when I get home. And it's always quite interesting. I don't know if I'm doing a good job parenting or not, because every time we go into a store, my daughter asks if people know about Prairie Fire. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good 10-year-old sales rep right there or not.
She's like, I don't actually know her. I'm not feeding my daughter alcohol, I swear.
And then my daughter can walk through a store and she goes, Daddy, you make that. And I'm like, well,
That's so
you know,
cute.
it's one of those things where I sometimes have to correct her and I go, no, Dave does. And so it's definitely, it's interesting, but it's also given me a great opportunity to kind of showcase what hard work is. And the awesome part, and you guys know about this as well, there are perks in the alcohol industry. Right?
Spirit industry.
Alcohol encompasses beer and wine.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Oh man.
I was like, got him.
So there are perks, and it's one of those things where when we go to sporting events or we go down to Wells Fargo Arena or anything like that, a lot of times we have really good tickets. And I don't know if my kids know what it's like to sit in the nosebleed of a concert yet. And it's like, oh, the reason why we're there is because somebody offered them to us or something like that. It's not like we went out to get specific tickets. And so it's one of those things that's an element that my daughters are being able to benefit from, even though they're not selling. The other bad thing, and I told you I'm debating if I'm raising them right, but my daughter's favorite cookie is a Prairie Fire chocolate chip cookie. My wife throws a quarter cup of Prairie Fire into our chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Yeah.
And so now every time they're bringing treats to school or anything, my daughter wants to bring Prairie Fire cookies. I'm like, I'm not quite sure if that is appropriate. Why don't we just do some Oreos?
That's hilarious. That would make the news.
And not in the right way.
No, definitely not. There is such a thing as bad press.
The alcohol burns off in there.
It does. It does.
You know? I do know that if you make fudge, though, that the cooking point of fudge does not burn off the alcohol. And so that we have somebody that makes a white fudge and adds red swirls into it with prairie fire. And so they have boozy fudge.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
cool.
sounds really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's some very interesting recipes and things that people. Heck, I just had some prairie fire cake balls the other day when we had trivia here.
Oh, nice.
One of the tables brought in prairie fire cake balls. I'm like, I really want to sell those, but I'm guaranteeing you it wasn't done in a commercial kitchen.
Yeah.
So.
But those are the benefits. Like you get to have people come and visit you and they want to share with you like, hey, I really like the liquor that you're making. I want to show you the treat that I made and like fudge and the cake balls and things like that. That would make me really happy. And like, oh my gosh, like this, kind of like how we're doing this. We are very grateful for even to be here and to have you as a guest on our podcast. And again, we're Iowans. We work hard and we have a very inviting personality to a lot of us, and that's very nice that you get to have this amazing accomplishment, 12 years of owning this distillery and having people still coming in and showing you different recipes with your spirits, with desserts, everything like that. That's really cool.
Seems
It's
really
like
rewarding.
Yeah, it is very rewarding. It's a nice little gift.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's those are the really fun stories. And
Exactly.
when you sit there and be able to help out with charities or anything like that. Now, one thing I will say, just in case anybody's watching, we do not support anything that's under 21.
Right.
I can't tell you how many little league teams have asked to put our logo on the back of their jerseys. But
Oh, really?
it just seems awkward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We keep it down back there. We're trying to record a podcast.
Get that bottle of apple pie out of his hands. We're trying to get him to like Iowa bourbon.
Right. Yeah. We'll get there. What other questions do you guys have? I've just been kind of rattling off, so I'm sorry about that.
I've noticed you guys have a lot of events that go on here. I saw you have a silent book club, which like that sounds very appealing to me as someone who I would like to go out to the bars and maybe have a drink, but I don't necessarily want to be social.
Nope.
So I think that's a great idea. What other like events do you have or like specials that you put on?
Silent Book Club was actually one of our bartenders, one of our mixologists' idea. And she even goes so far as she wants to make the cards that are red and green so that anytime that you want a new cocktail, you just flip it over to green. So she's not bothering you.
Yeah.
And it's really funny to watch people bringing camping chairs. And they'll switch out one of the bar stools for a camping chair just so they can read for 2 hours.
That
and they
is
don't have
funny.
to worry about it. And
That's awesome.
we try all those fun things. I mean, there is not something that we normally say no to. There's a few things, but at the same time, we do a lot of activity classes. So I think we had elf cookie decorating the other day. We have arm knitting coming up, which is a blast. We also have Ted Lair that's down the road here, which is a landscaping company, and they do like planting classes and cactus classes and stuff like that. But one of the things that we consistently do is throughout the whole year, we do live music on Fridays. During the spring, summer, and fall, we do food trucks. And we've been able to really get some amazing food trucks and try out some new stuff because of that. And then that's also supporting the local economy, right? And so it's really cool to be able to do some of that kind of stuff. And then every year, I always laugh because they wanted to do a street party.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those things going, okay, being downtown, you know how cutting off the street, it makes everybody want to have a good time. We're in Cumming, Iowa. Everybody loves Cumming, right?
Yeah.
Our water tower says so.
Is that what it says?
Yep. It actually has I Heart
No,
Cumming
it just
on-
says coming on it. It doesn't say everybody loves coming.
It actually says I Heart Cumming.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, Jaden.
I just saw the one over here. So
It's actually trademarked by the city.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the T-shirts. I'm like, we need to get some of this.
So off topic, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off.
No,
This
you're
is probably going
fine.
to get edited out, but one of the fun things, I'm originally from Cumming. So I was born and raised in Cumming, and then I went to Simpson College over in Indianola. And when I was in Simpson, I had the great opportunity to study in Perth, Australia for 6 months.
Oh, cool.
And my dad, who was an entrepreneur in Des Moines, he would send me $100 bills in the mail. I think this is his way of sending me beer money without my mom knowing about it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Mom. Anyway, so he would do that, and it was a nice little joke that him and I would talk about. But I was talking to him one time, and it was leading up to October, and us Americans that were studying abroad thought that we would get a party bus for Halloween, because that seems like the logical thing to do when you're studying abroad, right? Teach the Australians about party buses.
Right.
Anyway, so I was talking to my dad on the phone, and I'm like, hey, Dad, could you maybe send some beer money? And his logical response was no. And as I hung up the phone, I knew I had looked the gift horse in the mouth, and I no longer was going to get those little presents in the mail, right? About a week and a half later, a box shows up at my flat, and I'm just like, okay, this is before Amazon. Okay, so Amazon boxes just didn't show up. This was beat to heck, and I'm going, okay, there's custom forms all over this thing. I'm going, what did my dad just pack up my room and send it to me? Is he that upset for me asking for beer money? And I open it, and on the top was just a note, and it said, if you want beer money, sell these, Dad. No, I love you, no anything like that. And I open up the box. My dad had sent me a box of I Heart Cumming t-shirts
Oh my gosh.
and I Heart Cumming thong underwear.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Brilliant.
That is the best way to give beer
So you
money.
sold all of them.
Oh yeah.
I made enough money for the rest of the
Yes,
semester.
you did.
Yeah.
And I also learned there is never an appropriate way for a 22-year-old to ask what size thong you wear.
Yes.
These women would be like, yeah, I want one of those. What size do you think? I'm just like, small. I don't know. I don't know measurements or anything like
Yep.
that. So
Smart man.
Anyway, so there's my little tangent. You can edit that out.
No,
if
Yeah,
you
that's
no,
want.
that's
keep
staying
it
in for sure. Your dad's a bro for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
dude.
No, that's brilliant.
So yeah.
That's
that-
amazing.
He
That's
knew
and that's why
exactly
we're poor
what to
people.
do too. He was like, "No, I'm a brilliant. Like that was brilliant."
Yep. I sold the last t-shirt off my back downtown Perth, Australia. Somebody said, hey, I need your shirt. And I'm just like, $50.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. I'm like, really? So he used 5 of it to go buy a new t-shirt at the equivalent of Walgreens and jumped on the bus and went back to school.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So that was my introduction into being a business owner. Right?
Yeah.
So
No kidding.
Walking around with a backpack full of I Heart Cumming t-shirts.
If you don't mind me asking, when did you go to? When was that? What year was that?
I want to say 2004, something like that.
Okay.
2003, 2004.
I hope people from Australia are watching this because I hope you still have that shirt.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
If we can get pictures of that from people in Australia, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. If you still have that I Heart Cumming Iowa shirt, we want to see it for sure.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, 2004. Yeah, someone will definitely keep
That's
that.
like
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, almost 21
Almost
years ago.
20, yeah.
The gray in my beard proves it.
I figured you were like 16 back then. I don't know.
So yeah, but anyway, as I was saying, being part of Cumming, we wanted to do a street party. So we actually teamed up with the Cumming Tap, and those guys are awesome. Like I said, rising tide raises all ships, and we shut down the street. We anticipated maybe 400 people coming down. I mean, Cumming's population at the time was under 400, and we're like, okay, we'll get some people from West Des Moines, from Des Moines, all that fun jazz. Then we ended up releasing Iowa State 1858 vodka that same day. So Iowa State got on board. We had about 2,000 people show up.
Wow. Yeah, you did.
Just on this block right here?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
But that relationship that we've built over the years with the food trucks, we were able to sit there, and we had people calling that we didn't know. And we're like, no, we've worked with these 4 food trucks in the past year. Come on down. We're not going to charge you anything to be a part of this. We just want to make sure that our people are here and they can stay and everything like that. They had a dunk tank, and we brought in charities to be able to sit there and put their executive directors and make a little bit of money for charities.
Nice.
And it wasn't The only thing is, they put me in the dunk tank for 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
But it was a warm day though, right? It was like a very excruciating hot day.
Until I got out to go to the bathroom one time, and then they put 2 bags of ice without me knowing.
Oh, man.
So anyway, the next year we had our second annual street party, and it was one of those things where we didn't have a big release, and we're like, okay, we'll have maybe 900 people, and we brought in an amazing band. We brought in some opening acts, and people were just up and down the street. We had about 1,700, 1,800 people that come down, and you asked at the very beginning, how do you get people down to Cumming, Iowa? It's doing fun things like that. And this reminds a lot of people that have doors in downtown Des Moines or in West Des Moines that grew up in small town Iowa. And they're like, hey, this is a little nostalgia, but at the same time, this is what I want my kids knowing about Iowa. This is a little bit of that feel of home where, I always laugh because we used to have cornfields out our front window. Depending on how much you drink, it looks kind of like the ocean when the waves are going over it.
Beachfront property, dude.
It's our little Iowa island.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can get into our douche of the week, and then we can end it here. This is a little segment that we do.
Oh my God. It feels like inappropriate for this one.
We don't, it's not a person. It's like a pet peeve. It can be a person. It can just be something that happened this week or in the past that was annoying, or is just like a service industry thing that's annoying. I don't know how else to describe it. Okay, what's your douche of the week, Haley?
Okay, we know I hate the Zins so much. I had like
why'd you look at me?
Jaden. Was this you actually at my bar this weekend?
Probably not. I wasn't there for very long.
There were like 3
I throw my Zins away responsibly.
There were like 3 shot glasses this weekend with a Zin in the bottom of it.
No, that was not me.
I threw them directly in the trash can.
The shot glasses?
I'm not reaching my hand in there to get the Zin packet out of there. I'm not.
You wouldn't put like water in it, swish it around and throw it in
No, I just threw it away.
Oh.
I wonder where all the shot glasses were going.
That's a pretty good douche.
People
of the week.
steal them. It wasn't me. If my bosses are watching this, I'm kidding. I washed it out.
I promise it was not me. I was not there for very long either.
It doesn't take very long.
That's true.
I love how she looks at you and just goes, you were there.
Was it you? It's all coming back to me now.
It's for the content.
Oh, my leg's falling asleep.
Sabotaging me for the content.
Okay, my douche of the week is okay. So we had our heat go out in the bar, and we had to stay open. All right, and we just had to tell customers like our heat's out. Sorry, we're still serving food. Nobody stayed. Okay.
You know, Prairie Fire warms them up. Right?
Oh, I bet. I bet.
That's
I should have told him that. We got
good.
Prairie Fire though. Our heat's out, but we got fire. No, but so anyways, I was incredibly sick on that day. And it was like the last thing I wanted to do was work for 6 hours in a freezing bar and while I'm sick. And so I mean, just me being me, I was complaining a lot. and then they finally, so then all of a sudden people like servers and bartenders start dropping like flies because they're all sick. And I'm like, oh, you guys are sick? I was like, oh, that's crazy, because when I was sick and had to work in the freezing cold, nobody let me go home. In fact, they send everybody home. The entire kitchen, our GM was in the back cooking pizzas. Our entire kitchen was gone. I was running the entire front of house by myself. And I'm just like, I hate this. I hate this. And then the next week, like a couple days later, they're like, oh, we're sick. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So my douche of the week is
being sick
while you're working. Yeah. And the heat not being in. That's my douche.
So did your coworkers get you sick, or did you get all your coworkers
I probably
sick?
got all of them sick, but I had to work. I never got a day off. They all got days off. I had to work through the thick of it. Well, yeah, I'm gonna get heated.
Jaden, I'm really sorry that happened to you.
It's fine. I'm over it.
Don't worry. It just took his Zins over to your
Yeah. I took it out on you guys by putting the Zins in the shot glasses.
That's fine. It's fine.
I went on vacation But I didn't
Yeah.
really go on, like I was on vacation, but I wasn't really off from work because like I was still like getting notified what was going on at work. So I think that was my pet peeve is like I'm on vacation, but sometimes you can't get a hold of my boss, and so then I know the answers, which is fine. I don't get mad about that by any means, but like when I go on vacation, I'm not actually on vacation because people still need me and they can call me. I don't want them to not call me, but when I get a phone call about something that is like super simple that my boss should have answered the phone to, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, you got to do this, But I mean, that it wasn't. It's just annoying. It was just annoying. It wasn't really like anything that was douchey.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want them to get nervous or get anxious because they can't get a hold of someone.
Yeah.
So like, that's it. Just going on
That's
vacation
fair.
and someone's still
Getting
calling
calls while on vacation.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would much rather have them call me than like not figure out the situation.
Yeah, of course.
Because they just need some help to be guided, and I'm okay with that. But
You're like in a loud bar and you're like, what?
I wish
the
I-
Coors Light is out?
I literally didn't even want to be in a bar when I was on vacation. And that's like one of those things where we work in one. I don't want to hang out in one.
Yeah.
I got overstimulated. It's like a group of people were starting to talk to us, and I just looked at one of my friends, and I looked at her and go, "We got to go." And she goes, "Why? You're like such a social butterfly." I go, No. I'm an introvert. I'm a total introvert right now. We are leaving. We ended up going home and falling asleep.
Yeah.
But, like, I go, "Oh, so this is 30. Like this is definitely
You
30.
have to save it for
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're real big complainers around here.
I was going to say hiccups.
Yeah.
I hate hiccups.
Yeah.
I got them the other day, and it was and my
That's a
daughter
good
got them
douche of
too,
the
and it
week.
was just
See?
one of those things like, okay.
I love the attitude.
Well, and especially when they hurt too, like you're like, oh, like every time.
Or like they don't come up all the way and they stay right there and they hurt really bad.
Yeah, my daughter had hiccups the other day, and it was one of those things. I'm like, stand on your head and drink a glass of water,
Yeah.
and it was more entertaining than anything.
Yeah, I bet it was.
But at the same time, I still felt bad. I'm like, I wish I could take this pain away from you, but you're gonna have to figure out how to deal with hiccups on your own.
Yeah.
So
When people get hiccups here, what do you give them?
Prairie fire.
I can probably come up with a shot for
Okay. Yeah.
a spoonful of sugar.
That's a good one.
Helps the medicine go down.
Yes. Yeah.
I was gonna say you guys have the peppercini shots, and almost every time I take those like religiously. I don't take them very often,
Yeah.
but when I do, I get spicy hiccups right afterwards, and it's like
no.
that's the only time I get hiccups is from things that are too spicy, and I don't expect it, and those are the worst.
We normally give people lemons with bitters on it.
Really?
Yeah. And that
Oh yeah,
helps.
I've heard that works.
Yep.
Yeah.
If they can't hold their breath or like, I just don't like the sound of hiccups because 9 times out of 10 in the bar, if someone has hiccups, they're like, don't throw up. If you're going to throw up, grab that trash can and go to the bathroom. Like,
I was just going to ask, how many drinks do they have to not be able to hold their breath?
I don't know. Some people don't like holding their breath to get rid of their hiccups because it doesn't work for them.
Okay.
Like me,
Have them
myself.
stand on their head and try to drink a glass of water.
They're just already
No, I don't even want to
hyperventilating
do that too. Yeah. I don't even want to.
Immediate
in
throw
the
up.
bar.
Yeah. I don't even want to see that.
You're holding their legs up, and they puke on your shoes.
Yeah, fucking nightmare.
It's like a hell no H2O moment. Right?
Yeah. No, for sure.
Oh man. Well, Kyle, you've been great. We'll wrap up this one and go to our Patreon episode. So make sure you subscribe to our Patreon. Oh, my camera's over here. And do you have anything you want to shout out right before we end this and move on to the next episode?
I want to say thank you very much for coming down, guys. This is a blast. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you
thank
taking a little bit of time. And also just want to give a shout out to the team, the Iowa Distilling team, because they're the ones that make this thing happen. And it's really cool to be able to work with this amazing crew. So yeah, it's one of those proud to be Iowans. And if you can keep supporting local and keeping Iowan dollars and Iowa porters is kind of our mantra. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So
And how do
appreciate
they
you guys.
find you?
You can check us out on all the social medias at Iowa Distilling Company. And then we're also on iowadistilling.com. We're available in all the grocery stores across the state of Iowa in all 99 counties. And we're in a lot of other places. If you're at a bar or a restaurant, we ask that you ask for us. That's the only way that people are going to bring them in because it's one of those things where they need to know about it. And so if you're in a bar or a restaurant, just ask for us and then check us out on social media and all that fun jazz. Then you can see me teaching you how to make a cocktail once in a while.
Awesome.
Can't say it's great,
Yes.
but it's backyard bartending in its finest.
Yeah,
That's right.
We love that.
He's gonna make me a drink here in a little bit too. So
I think I'm making
Or
you
four.
about 7.
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair.
Perfect. All right. Well,
Our
we'll lead into our Patreon. Make sure you
sign.
follow poorpeople.podcast on everything. And we will see you in Patreon.
And for richer,
oh, yeah. For richer, for
poor.
poor.
Thank you
for
for
watching
watching
Poor
Poor
People.
People.
I always forget that.
Okay, there are a few stories that I do want to tell you.